when you get to the professional ranks, you might have players from Puerto Rico, players from Venezuela, players from Japan. I've also played with players who are from Cuba. And so when you have this group of men who are from all over the world but come together for a common goal, you tend to have all these different experiences, all these different cultural experiences, whether it's music or food or religion, someone's background and their upbringing, what their country is like. It really lends itself to people becoming open and learning about others. And so when you talk about the foundation of friendships, to me, it really starts with empathy and openness.
My name is Matuszak. I'm the head baseball coach at Granada Hills Charter. I'm also a teacher in the school, and I'm very honored today to be accompanied by Gary Matthews Jr. Gary had a 12-year major league career after graduating from Granada Hills Charter back in 1992. His resume includes over 100 career home runs. He was an all-star back in 2006. And he holds what I consider, and I know this will be debatable, but I consider the greatest catch of all time. He made a catch over the center field wall. I have no idea how he made this catch. So Gary, welcome. Thank you today. Before we dig into our topics, I want to give you just a second if you have anything to include there on your resume. And then we want to hear about this catch. How did you make this catch? Tell us a little bit about it.
Coach Matuszak, thanks for having me. Thanks for the wonderful introduction. You said 1992, and I thought, wow, has it really been that long? Unbelievable. But when I think back to Granada Hills Charter High School, I have such wonderful memories, and so it's been a pleasure to kind of be back in the family. You and I have been interacting for a little over a year now, and I came back, brought my family back and some of my former teammates for my number retirement ceremony. And it was an absolute pleasure and an honor to be back at the school and be back interacting with the staff and parents and some of the players.
How do you think you build? What builds that healthy relationship? What creates that? I know we all want that, and that's part of it, within the game of baseball and within society. But what do you think helps build that good relationship?
When you're playing professionally, and even in high school, whether you're playing at the high school level, whether you're playing at the collegiate level or professionally, you have a lot of time together. Even in high school, you're busy in class. But when you get home from school, you get out of class, you have these practices, right? Practices and games and day after day, month after month, you have a lot of time with your teammates. And this doesn't just apply to sports, right? Like this applies to the classroom as well, or any other interest, any clubs that you might belong to outside of school. It's really taking the time that builds that foundation. And once you have that openness and empathy that we spoke about, you spend a lot of time together, whether it's out on the practice field, you get done with practice, maybe you go grab a bite to eat together. It's really an opportunity for people to be able to kind of fellowship together, talk and learn about your classmates, learn about your teammates. That time together, those are building blocks, if you will, to relationships that will last you a long time.
Right. And so my follow-up question, and you kind of answered this already, was what role did you feel that athletics played in your relationship? So not to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like that time together, on the field and off the field, definitely played a big factor in helping that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've learned so many great lessons playing baseball, playing sports in general. And being 46 years old and retired now out of the game, I've essentially taken these lessons that I learned in sports and applied them to the business world. I now invest in small business hotels, mostly the Marriott Residence Inn brand. We have 5 different properties all over Southern California, except for one property in Wailea. I also do some residential development here in Orange County along the coast. I've built 3 homes out here. I've sold a couple. I live in one. But one of the things that I've really taken from my playing days and applied to my business life is understanding that we have a bunch of people, right? We might have 20 or 30 people working on this home, from contractors to subcontractors and different people who do various things on these properties. But the one thing that we have in common is the goal to build the most amazing property that we can, to accomplish the goal of building out this property and making it a great investment. And so I took the same principles that I learned while playing sports. And part of one of the most important principles is understanding that you have to trust your teammates, trust your team to do what they do best, right? We all have different talents, different specific talents that lend itself to accomplishing these goals. And part of that is putting the right team together. But also, once you put the team together and you establish what the goal is, you do have to trust your teammates to do what they do best, to bring their individual talents to the project or to the field, to the court, to the classroom, whatever it may be. Trust is important, and that trust is built by aligning your goals and setting that foundation for how you're going to work. And it's really the same principles I've been using for years as an athlete, and I've taken those same principles into my post-career life and investing, and it's really served me well.
Awesome. Yeah, I love how you talk about how athletics and the things that you do when you're younger, whether it be through clubs, through classrooms, those relationships, how they translate into the business world, and they translate into whatever your career may be down the road, and those things obviously carry over. So definitely appreciate that. Who is somebody who was a mentor to you specifically over the years? Maybe they're a coach or another player or teammate or a teacher or somebody that was maybe a mentor to you?
There are so many players, so many former teammates, even some of my father's former teammates from when he played during the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I think my father signed in 68 and was Rookie of the Year in 72. My father got to the major leagues and was mentored by Willie Mays.
Oh, wow.
And if you know anything about baseball, then you know that Willie Mays is one of the greats, the all-time greats.
Yeah.
Probably, when they talk about 5-tool talent, that's hitting for average, running, throwing, we're talking about the foundation of 5 tools. That's Willie Mays.
Right.
And he was a mentor to my father, taught him various lessons that really set the standard for how my father was going to work, the approach he was going to have as a professional. And my father passed those lessons along to me. And so when I think about those things that my father learned from the great Willie Mays when he was a rookie, I had a very similar experience with Tony Gwynn when I first arrived to the major leagues. Tony Gwynn, arguably one of the best hitters of all time, certainly the best hand-eye coordination I've ever seen from any hitter.
Right.
And his preparation was second to none. And his understanding of what he did really well was something that I learned from him, something that really helped me learn how to stay within my game in these high pressure situations. 60,000 people sitting in the seats, tie ball game, and maybe the best closer in the league standing on the mound facing you. You've got to have a plan. You've got to know when to stick with your plan and when to deviate and make adjustments in that plan. And so that was something I learned from Tony Gwynn. He was, just amazing when I got to the major leagues. And I actually learned my pregame tee routine from Tony Gwynn probably in 97 or 98. And I continued to use that same routine throughout my career when I retired at 37 years old in 2010 or 2011. Just, amazing lessons from him. And when I think about it, everyone, whether you're in coaching, whether you're a player, you need a bridge, right? A bridge from what you learned in high school or college to what you need to do as a professional, And so I sought out people that I knew, people that I respected, players that did the job well, players that had a consistent plan, and I asked questions. I was never afraid to ask something that I thought was going to be embarrassing. For me, it was an opportunity to learn from someone who was better than me. And that has continued to serve me well also. That to this day, this is still something that I do. If there's something I'm not sure about, some investments that I want to learn more about, I find someone who knows about it. I try and find someone who's one of the best and ask questions.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. Definitely, I can relate. Definitely, you try to surround yourself with the best people you can and ask as many questions as you can. You've talked
Absolutely,
a lot about
Coach.
People who have mentored you. Is there anybody who you have mentored? And also with that, what are some things specifically that maybe you've done either to mentor other teammates or people within your circle and make them feel valued?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's so important for people to feel valued, right? That is another really important piece of relationships, and that is where taking the individual time comes in. During my career as a player, I did quite a bit of mentoring of young players who would come to the major leagues, and I was never really outspoken, but when I saw a young kid who was talented, who maybe who had a great future, but maybe just wasn't polished yet, I would take it upon myself to take them out to dinner and talk about their personal goals, learn a little bit more about them and their background, because I don't want this to just be, you want this to be an equal relationship, right? Where I'm giving them something and they're also teaching me something as well. Just because I'm the veteran player, the older player, doesn't mean that there's something that I can't learn from someone who's younger than me. I happen to be a father of two. I have a son that's 22 and a daughter who's 16. And I, as a parent, you're guiding, you're loving, you're mentoring. But at this age, they're teaching me so much. So many things that you'd never imagine that you'd learn. And watching them grow and seeing their perspective is one of the joys of my life. But so some of the mentoring that I do now that I'm retired is with some of my children's friends. I tell them never hesitate to reach out if they have any questions about whatever it may be. And so I field questions from friends of my kids all the time, everything from career advice to love advice. I mean, you name it, I hear it from these kids. And, we're living in an age where there's so much information and it's so accessible to kids. And so with that, you have to learn how to sort through the information and learn what you can use and what you can't use. And so this is why it's really important when you're seeking out a mentor. It shouldn't be just someone who you respect and care about, but someone who has an interest and has maybe some expertise in the area that you're inquiring about. It's important. And there's a lot of resources out here. It's one of the advantages of the times that we're living in with social media. You can reach out to anyone in the world and make new friends, get information, right? Build new relationships. And it's a great time, that we're living in right now. And I guess there's good and bad to it. But I think if you know how to use these social media tools and you use them in a healthy way, I don't think there's any doubt that you can use it to your advantage as a young person.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you this, you're definitely a mentor to a lot of young kids in our baseball program. We really appreciated it when you came out to our alumni event last year. Hopefully, once things kind of clear up, hopefully we can have another alumni event up in the future, and we can have you back. And we'll definitely have to ask you about that pregame tea routine and get as much advice and pick your brain as much as we possibly can.
Coach, I'm looking forward to sharing it with you.
Absolutely. And I really, really appreciate your time and everything that you do for the youth and for everybody. And just want to thank you again.
Yeah, Coach, I told you the last time I saw you at the alumni event, but I want to congratulate you on a job well done. It's great work that you're doing. It's unbelievably difficult work that you're doing. I said this to you almost a year ago, and that couldn't be more true considering the times that we're living in. And so, I have a daughter who's 16 and a high school sophomore. I just want to thank you as a teacher and mentor to these kids for the work that you do, the effort that you put in. It's often thankless at times, but just know that as a parent and a former player, Granada Hills Charter High School alumni, I'm so appreciative of the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you so much, Gary. We appreciate it.
You asked me about the catch, and the catch. I was playing a little bit deeper at the time. That was back in 2006, sometime I think in July, right around the All-Star break. We were playing an interleague series against the Houston Astros, and if you play for the Texas Rangers or you happen to be an Astros fan, you know that's a really big rivalry. It kind of compares to the Dodger and Angels rivalry, if you will, but it's in the state of Texas, right?
Yeah.
And so we were playing against the Astros. The pitcher was Brian Corey, right-handed reliever, and the hitter was Mike Lamb, who had been playing really well, had a really good series against us. I think he had already hit 2 or 3 home runs in the series, a few doubles, bunch of RBIs. He was really giving us a handful that series. And so I backed up a few steps before that at bat, and Brian Corey ends up hanging a changeup, and I went back to the wall, thought I had it timed pretty good, and here we are still talking about it almost 14 years later. It's unbelievable when you think about it.